just jump in here. And so this is what we're going to go over tonight. Just a quick introduction. We'll talk about the impact that we've had already, the positions that we have available, team guidelines and expectations, some standard terminology, a lot of it basic, which you already know, and standards of operation, and Q&A, and some hands-on training. And of course, feel free to interrupt me anytime during this. You don't have to save your questions to the end. But we will have time for that at the end. So, talking about our impact. So we started, the media team started by Jared, and I'm sorry, for those of you that haven't met us, Jared Denman, who started the charity media team, and myself, Chad Swinford, who is riding on his coattails. We have started this, Jared had started this back in August, and the first time we went live was on August 14th. We are now live on both Facebook and YouTube. Our viewership on YouTube is not good, and we expect that. However, once we start appealing to the younger generations, that's where we'll get them at. You know, our demographic on Facebook is the older generation, 30 and over. So that's really the target there. But we're going to we'll talk more about the future stuff later. But YouTube will really come into play more along when we start doing Xenox sermons or Xenox services. So currently we have an average of 28 peak live viewers every Sunday. Now that doesn't mean we only have 28 viewers, but the way that Facebook Insights works is that it only gives us that number of the highest number of users we have at any one time, right? So we can see our number of views, but we can only see the number of unique viewers at one given time. So we have a peak of 28, an average of 28 peak live viewers a week. So with that said, on Facebook we've had 45,000 minutes of our videos viewed since August 14th. That's a big number, okay? So we went from having really no multimedia on social media to jumping into Facebook and very quickly building a small audience. And then, of course, the power of social media is that exponential growth as people share. So we have some plans, and we have some goals in mind and how we can grow that viewership. But currently, it's kind of just growing organically as it normally would, right? Without us, Pastor has spent a little bit of money promoting some videos, just testing those things out, but not much. Very, very small budget there. And then, of course, we see a lot of our impact really anecdotally on Sunday with the new faces in the crowd. And I don't know if you guys have paid attention, but they're bringing chairs out every single Sunday because we're out of room in the sanctuary. And we talk about this a lot as we start counting the people, the new people every week that we see that we had never seen before, even the previous Sunday. My wife also works as on the welcome, I don't know what you call it, out in the lobby. And she talks about all of the new entries in the system as they come in the door, and a lot of them are talking about how they came to us, right? Coming from Facebook. So we're making an immediate impact on the church and the people's lives. So everything that we do, we have got to remember we do this to glorify God, right? Everything we touch, every button we push is for Him. And we have to do it all with excellence, because that's how He wants us to operate, right? As a church, that's the same mantra that we have adopted throughout the entire church. The media team is no exception to that. And when we screw up, everybody sees it, right? And I'm sure you guys have seen it on Sundays. Mm-hmm. We still make mistakes, but our hearts are right, and we want to do everything that we do with excellence. Our challenge is that everyone comes in thinking that they know something about camera work, that they've taken pictures at birthday parties, and they've used video cameras, and everybody's got a camera on them at all times now. So that's really hard to overcome. And I personally will tell you, I don't know everything that there is to know. I am pretty much a novice user, right? I am no expert. There's probably some of you here that know more, certainly Jared, know more than I do. And hopefully you can teach me, and you can teach the rest of us. But we all have to operate as one. So we need to be careful of that. And our challenge is that we do be open to learning, and that we be unified, right? So if you have a better way, we can't go forward with a my way is better attitude. We all have to come to an agreement that this is how we're going to do it, and we standardize how each one of us operates, and then we move forward. Okay? So the positions that we have currently, and this list I think is growing as our needs grow. I say we have 3 positions currently, but there's 4 listed here. We have a camera operator, which is obvious. We have a director, which currently there's only 2 of us, Jared and myself. We have a group of ladies that do Facebook response for us, right? So they are on the Facebook live stream as Charity Church, and they're responding to people as they comment, you know, as they introduce themselves on the live stream, and as they ask for prayers, or as you know, they say anything in general. They're there to field those and respond to each one of them. Okay, and then future positions is post-production help. Jared has been producing a lot of videos for not only not really for the media team at all, but for other areas, other ministries in the church, primarily Xenox, the weekly announcements that you see, which are done with Olivia typically. What other ones are you doing?
Just
on
like
a regular basis?
like the picnic one, and all those too. The pastor appreciation video is done by me also.
Okay, so you see, there's a lot of Sundays now that you will see a very well professionally done multimedia presentation, and that is done by Jared. They are all done by Jared, and you know, he can't really sustain that. He does have a job and other things pulling him, and so we're going to be looking for some post-production help. But of course, that will come with some requirements, you know, and we'll talk more about those in a minute. The camera operator position. So what we ask for this position, and this is what we really need the most of, is that you know the cameras well and you be proficient with them, that you can adjust them on the fly to the given situation, that you always be ready for your next move, that you are good with following instruction from the director. You may think you've got a great shot, but you don't know the other shots that the director is seeing at that time. He might have 3 of the same shot. So he needs to tell somebody to move. Okay, so if you're asked to move, you need to move, you need to get there quickly. And then always be thinking like that director, right? Always be thinking about
The next shot.
the next shot. This is the last worship song. So I know that the pastor is going to be coming up. And between that sort of transition, we use a transition shot. So we'll do a wide angle shot, and then we do a wide angle shot with, say, camera 1, and then camera 3 will pick up the new speaker as he's coming up, rather than having a camera move from a wide angle to zoom into that speaker. Does that make sense? So you always got to be thinking ahead, just like that director has to make his job easier. So the director himself needs to be technically proficient, not just with cameras. Of course, he has to understand the camera specifically, but he has to be detail-oriented, be cool under pressure, and that is one I would stress. It is a kind of a stressful position, and when you mess up, everybody sees it, but it's expected, right? And then always be one step ahead. You always have to know where you're at, where you're going, what's coming up next. We have a schedule of what's happening in the service. As a song is winding down, we know what the next song is going to be. You know what the tempo of that song is, so you're starting to get an idea of how you're going to adjust for that. Who's going to start the song, right? So in your notes, it tells you who leads the song. And so you got to be able to prepare your camera operators to tell them, hey guys, in about 30 seconds we're going to have a transition. Camera 1, you set up the transition shot. Camera 3, Jacqueline is leading this next song. I want you to pick her up and then go from there. Okay, so just always be one step ahead. And then additionally, not only do you have to be aware of what's going on in the room and how it appears on these screens, but how does this appear online? Because that's probably one of the more difficult parts of it, is trying to give the feel of the room online, right? So when there's moments where during worship, and worship really is the hardest part, right? It's fast tempo, there's a lot of movement, we're changing shots a lot, there's a lot of emotion, and when you get a lot of that room emotion building up, that director has to realize, hey, these people online aren't picking up on that emotion, right? So how do I set a shot up to show them? Hands, right? You set up a shot with people's hands, you set up a shot showing some of the crowd. If it's a fast tempo shot, we're working on a camera on drums right now.
We need a few more shots.
Yeah, we've got a GoPro that we've tested out in the drum cage. We need to move it around, but those types of things to kind of set the tempo, you know. So you always have to keep that online viewer in mind, you know, as you're setting up these shots. And then the Facebook response, I would imagine that most of you in here aren't interested in this position, but if you are, we could always use more people. But it has to be a very welcoming person, good written communication, very well spoken, and a heart for people, right? Yes, sir. I bet.
Gotta be the last one.
Yeah. So this is you know, this is the face of charity online during the live stream, right? So you are logged in as charity, and any comments that you make are made as Charity Church. You know, just knowing that, if you're interested, again, please let us know. We've got 4 ladies right now, I think, and I think only 2 of them so far.
Angie was ready on Sunday, but we had problems with projectors.
Yeah, so it's just something that Melissa has been doing it pretty much full time, and then we're trying to work some others in and get her off of that weekly, 2-service weekly thing, and kind of get us into a regular rotation. So then the future position, the post-production, editing, again, technically proficient, prior editing experience with After Effects, Apple Motion, Final Cut Pro, Premiere, Photoshop. You know, if you've never heard of those things, this probably isn't the right thing for you. And then time management skills. So if that's something that you'd be interested in, you know, we do have a sign-up sheet for the end of this evening.
Oh, I gave it to
You
him
can put
earlier.
that. Do what?
I gave it to him earlier. So.
Yeah, that's okay. You can scratch your name off if you're not interested at the end of this. But anyway, you can put that down if that's something that would interest you, and then that would go directly to Jared, and then, you know, he can talk about, you know, future help that he might need.
Well, I want to say something about that real quick.
Sure.
Because eventually, the post-production stuff is going to get huge the way I see it in the next year or so. Because the way more and more people every week are coming to me with wanting ideas for videos and stuff like that. So I'm at the point now where I'm doing 1 to 2 videos a week, sometimes more than that. And sometimes the videos will take 20 to 30 hours worth of editing. People don't realize that. So, I mean, I say that I want like pre-production or pre-editing stuff like that, but like if you don't, I'll be more willing to train if you have the desire to do it and you have the technical skill ability. My biggest issue is just time management right now. I don't have enough time because sometimes I'll work on the videos for 60 hours a week, plus do my full-time job, and I have a 5-year-old daughter too, so it's just getting overwhelming.
Yeah. They are cool though.
Yeah. But that's a lot of my problem. When I say time management, it's because I don't want to just spend a half hour on the video and not look that great on Sunday morning. I'd rather not have as bad as it sounds, I'd rather not have that video and look crappy than you know what I'm saying? I'd rather spend that much time and do a good video.
Huh.
Okay, so team guidelines. So our ready times are 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock, so we do ask that you be there early. Don't be late, it's gonna happen. I'm late, he's late, not every time. You know, we desire to be there on time. Pastor does get stressed out if he sees us running around at a quarter after trying to get everything set up, or trying to find a camera operator that didn't show up, or something like that. And so it does add stress to us, the camera operators, and then also the leadership as they're seeing it, because they know that these positions are critical, and we've got to be there and be on time and be ready to serve. So we ask that you be there early so you can set up well before the service. So we got to set our headset volumes, set your tensions on tripods, which Jared will go over later, adjust the gain and the shutter speed while the worship team is practicing. So before anyone else comes into the sanctuary, the worship team has been in there practicing for 50 to 30 minutes. And the lights are up. It gives us an opportunity to set our cameras up, set the gain, set the shutter speed on them to make sure that, you know, we're not, our white balance is off, or we've got glares on the foreheads and stuff like that to make sure we've got a good shot. And then phones on mute. And those of you that are easily distracted by phones should probably not even take them with you. Just leave them on the floor or somewhere else, as that has been an issue,
Especially during worships, because
Yeah.
you have to maintain constant attention with worship, because it's always constant moving usually on worship. And after you get Andrew preaching, he moves around too.
Yeah. Okay, so this is a worksheet that we've used in the past. We haven't used it for about the past month. I wasn't really sure that it was really impactful. The worship team puts out a small worksheet with a little bit of detail on what songs are, what the schedule, basically the schedule of the service. I had created this specifically for the media team. We may resurrect this. Jared and I haven't talked about it. I think that it's worthwhile to do it. I'm finding that I'm struggling creating them on a weekly basis.
Even if they just get a copy of the ones we get, it's just good enough, in my opinion.
Yeah, better than nothing, for sure.
Yeah, they basically just need to know who's leading the worship song.
Yeah. So regardless of which one you get, you'll have a copy at each camera, at each position. Okay, it just may not look like this. Okay, so directors, again, you have to plan ahead, and one big part of directing, I found, to do a really good job. Tom?
Because I don't know if everybody knows, because I don't know everybody up on that stage. And sometimes you have a certain person, I'm going, who's that?
We do get a lot
I mean, do you have a little, like on the little thing there where you can have which position people are, just you can switch out and sing?
like a numbering system?
Like you have them, they have them up there and you have their names there for that week, just have a little slide there, you can have it up there.
We'll think about how we can do that. How we can do that, because we're not doing anything like that at all right now.
I know.
And it is hard, not just for you.
I'm going like this, I said, okay, I'll just pick this person. Sometimes.
What if you
Who's
just
Brittany?
had a master copy of, I know this may sound crazy, just a picture and a name? I mean,
Oh,
if you
like
wouldn't
worship
have-
team?
I was gonna say, I mean, you wouldn't have to pass one out every week, but if you had maybe just like a master copy of, here's a person's name, and if they show up on the worship team that week and you don't know it, flip through and look and see who they are.
Okay.
I mean, just throwing it out there.
Let us talk about it, and we're open to ideas, okay? And that certainly would be one of them. We may end up just numbering the spots, right? There's only 3 leaders typically on the worship team. Everybody else is on ensemble. So we typically, while sometimes you will get a shot of someone on the ensemble, which is in the background, but typically we're looking for shots of the worship leaders. So we may just, instead of using names, say worship 1, 2, or 3. Or leader 1, 2, or 3. So maybe that's something that we'll talk about as a group and decide what's the best way forward, because it has been a problem for some that haven't been at charity for a while and just don't know who everyone is. And I'm like, well, she's the one in the red shirt, you know. So it does affect the production. It just slows you down, especially in a fast-paced song where every second counts. But going back to this, the video directors, one thing that really does impact the director's ability is knowing the song. So I get the songs, and as a director, if you're one to be a director, you will get the songs also 2 weeks in advance. And not everyone has the flexibility that I have, but I can sit at my computer while I'm working and listen to the songs, you know, if I don't already know them. And just to get to know the pace, the tempo, you know, where the tempo changes, because our transitions change, the pace of our transitions change, and just based on what that song is. So terminology, a lot of this stuff's basic, and some of it you already know, and some of it might be new to you. So the very most basic stuff is panning. So you'll be asked to pan, which is to move your camera from side to side. We might say right to left or left to right. To zoom, of course, is to move in on a subject or move out. These might be new to you. We may ask for a push on Jacqueline, right? So that is where you're starting close to the subject, you're zoomed way in on the subject, and then you start to zoom out as if you're pushing away from it, okay? So it's a moving shot. We're trying to use more moving shots. And then a pull is just the opposite, where you have a wider shot, and then you're pulling that subject closer to you, right? So you might be asked to do, you know, give me a push on worship 1, right? Or a pull on worship 2, or pan right to left while you're pushing, okay? So that might be where you start close on the right-hand side of the stage, and you're zooming out as you're panning across the stage, okay? And then to reset is just to start your moving shot from the beginning. And you know, this happens probably more frequently than you might think it does, but you know, it might be that we typically won't transition if you start this shot that we've asked you to do, or that you've just set up on your own. You might just set it up on your own. And maybe we didn't come to you fast enough or at the right spot. We might say, hey, reset that. Or maybe you were a little bit jerky and we weren't sure that it was going to be smooth. We might ask you, hey, reset that shot. You just go right back to where you started and just do it all over again. Headroom, and we have some examples of some of this stuff in some future slides. Headroom is the amount of space from the top of the person's head to the top of the screen, okay? So we want about 5% of the screen, give or take, probably not less than that, above that person's head as we frame them up. We certainly don't want
this. In the camera too, like when you look at the viewfinder, you'll see a white line at the very top. You don't want the head to go above that white line, because that's the 5% that you're talking about. Okay. On the frame itself in here, there's a white line at the very top. If you go above that, that's when you start cutting the head off of the camera feed.
All right. Yeah, so that's headroom, right? I don't want to chop anybody's head off. We don't want to touch the top of their head. We want to give it just a moderate amount of space, and you'll see what I mean, that it just feels right, it looks right, right? The way that we frame the shot. If that person's hands are up, we don't want to cut them off, okay? This is now their headroom up here. If you're in the middle of a shot and the person raises their hands, there's nothing you can do about it. Don't change your shot. Leave that up to the director to transition off of you. And then framing a shot is where you place the subject within the frame of your lens, okay? And we'll go through that here in a minute. Looking room is if, for instance, you're shooting me and I'm talking to you, you want me on the left-hand side of your frame. You want to show the room to which I'm pointing to, right? If someone is looking, you want to give more space in your shot to the side that the person is looking, right? You don't want them looking at the edge of the screen, I guess. And we'll have an example of that up here. And if I turn this way, your frame would move me to the other side of the screen. So I'm looking to the larger side of your screen. And then a cover shot or stage shot is a wide shot of the stage. This is what we use for transitions, right? So if we go, if for instance a song is ending, we're going to end that song in a wide angle shot. And we know a speaker is coming, so that other camera picks that speaker up, zooms in close, and then we transition. Okay, so that would be called a cover shot or a stage shot. So if we ask for that, then you'll know what we're looking for. So rack focus or rack out is to purposely go out of focus while you're moving in. This is kind of an advanced technique, and I know that there's at least 2 or 3 of you that could do this today. But this is an advanced skill. Hopefully more people will get to the point where they can do this. We'll use it, but we'll use it sparingly. All right, standards of operation. Again, I'm very repetitive here. Good camera operators think like directors. And we have to always keep an eye on the program feed. So that means the screens in the sanctuary. You want to keep one eye on your screen, right, on your viewfinder, and then your other eye, if you're talented enough,
Oh yeah, I gotta be able to do
on the screen, right? So that a good director will tell you when you're alive, right? One, you're alive, or something of that nature, but you need to know, right? If he doesn't tell you, you need to automatically make that connection that that's my shot on the screen. I have to maintain this shot until I'm not on the screen, essentially.
Eventually we'll get a tally system somehow.
Yeah, so what he's talking about, a tally system showing a red light or something on your camera that will tell you when you're live. But it really is, you know, and some of you that have been doing this for a while for us already, please speak up. But I think that it's easy enough to keep one eye up here and one eye on your viewfinder. You usually know when you're live and when you're not. That tally system really is, I think, more useful for a pastor when he's speaking or somebody, so they know if they really want to drive something home to the online viewers, they know which camera to look at. Okay, so camera operators, we gotta always be moving quickly, right? So assuming that you know when you are live and you've seen that the director has gone to another shot, you have to immediately move to your next shot. And most of the time you get your choice of what that is, right? Especially after you've done it for a while. The director's going to give you, you're already thinking like a director. You're knowing what that person is looking for in the next shot. You know the pace of things. So you're already going to, without being told what to do, you're going to go seek out the next shot. Start setting it up. And then, one thing that we have had, I don't think we really have this so much now, but the focus was a problem for a while. Getting in and setting your focus on a shot, because if you go from a wide shot to a tight shot where you're zoomed in on an individual, your focus changes. You might need to tweak it just a little bit. And sometimes you don't even notice it because your viewfinder is so small. Was it 3 inches, two and a half?
It's like 2.7.
On those cameras that you may not see it, but the director has a larger screen, and and he might be able to tell you, hey, you need to adjust your focus just a little bit before we go live here, before we make you live. So currently we have 3 cameras, okay? Camera 1, which is if you're looking at the stage, it's to the left. Camera 2 is in the booth. Camera 3 is if you're looking at the stage to the right. What we have been trying to set up, camera 1 is to do the front left worship, because we have this big podium that really looks nice when the pastor's speaking, but not so much during worship, right? It gets in the way a lot. So camera 1, which is on our left as we're looking at the screen, we try to focus on the left side of the worship. Also transition shots, so these are the cover shots that we talked about, the wide shots of the stage, and then some moving shots. So some panning and zooming and moving shots. Camera 2, which is in the booth, which currently is controlled by either Jared or I, but we really need to man it. It's one of our best angles that we have, but it's our worst camera as far as equipment goes, and we don't have enough room in the booth currently. It's another subject, but our media booth is going to be moved into another room, so then that'll open up some space so we can put an operator in there, and we're looking at different hardware to see if we can come up with the funds to replace that camera. I don't mean that it's this camera. It's an older.
It's an old Canon.
Yeah, camcorder, high-end camcorder. So, camera 2, we like to focus on the front 3 in the worship, the instrumental leads. We do a lot of stationary shots from that camera because it's not manned, and then the speakers. So when we have a speaker, for instance, pastor, we use this shot more than any, because he is typically adjusted directly to the center. And then camera 3, which again, looking at the stage, it's on the right-hand side. They mostly, the 4 things, this is really our more active camera. They do the worship ensemble, the front right-hand side of the worship, new speakers as they're coming up. So if you remember camera 1, we do transition shots, typically. It's a wider angle. And then we ask camera 3 to pick up that new speaker as he's coming up. Okay? And then we do more moving shots from this camera than the others. So each one has different responsibilities. So we start talking about framing shots, and we always kind of have to think about this. Anybody ever heard of this before? The rule of thirds. You know, as you slice up your viewfinder as a shot, you do have it in 3 segments, and we want to not always adjust the subject in the center of our screen. It's easier on the eye if we adjust them to one of the thirds. Okay, so either on this imaginary line or this imaginary line. This banjo player is facing this direction, so we're giving this person looking room, so we're giving him the majority of this screen over here. If he were adjusted this way, he'd be on this line. Does that make sense? Those lines are not present on your cameras. But you might ask, you might hear the director ask you, move your subject to your left a little bit, or move your subject to your right a little bit. Get him out of the center of the frame. So once your camera is live, you don't adjust it, okay? Don't change thirds. Just expect that the director is going to make that change for you. If the director realizes this isn't a good shot, he's going to move to something else because he's already got something else in mind. He's thinking ahead, and there's another camera that he could go to. So just in general, if you're on a shot, we don't change that shot. If you're on a stationary shot of the speaker, you don't all of a sudden start zooming in. Or you don't change from one individual to another while you're live. Let the director set that up with another camera, or another camera operator set that up, and they'll make that change for you. So you'll hear this somewhat frequently. especially in the beginning as you start to use fill the camera operator position. And this is to set up how we want to see an individual, a subject on the screen, right? So feet up, if you can read these, this is feet up, so we're showing the subject's feet, and he's got a fair amount of headroom above his head. If we ask for knees up, you're going to zoom in tighter, and now this is your frame, right? So we want to see his knees and everything above it. Instrument or waist up, we see that and everything above it, elbows up and everything above it. We typically don't really get any tighter than that. We have recently gotten a little bit tighter when Pastor has been speaking. He doesn't like it, but
It looks good online.
it does look good online. Sometimes we want to come in real close, and he says it feels like he's got a giant arching over his shoulder. He doesn't move a lot, and when you're, so it's a little easier to stay with him. But if we have a very active speaker, if you go in tight on him, you'll be like, where'd he go? Right? Because you don't have a really wide view, and it's hard. It would be easy to lose that person.
Reminds me of one Friday special gas that went around everywhere.
Oh,
Yeah,
Cornell Jordan.
Cornell, yeah. Yeah, Jared was chasing
That
me
was
around
rough.
Sanctuary.
I thought he lost 20 pounds, he did.
Okay, so you've heard these terms mentioned earlier. So this is a cover shot, mostly used for transitions, right? So this is our framing. We're just really showing the stage. We're showing a little bit of the crowd. Also called a stage shot. Crowd shot is really when we want to show, right? We don't do this a lot. We're probably one time per worship where we really come back as far out as we can and show the whole room, as much of the room as we can. But when we ask for a crowd shot, that is what we are looking for. Again, so this is the 5% headroom, which we talked about earlier. So regardless of your framing, whether it's feet up, knees up, instrument or waist up, elbows up, that still applies up here, right? Okay, so these decks were made. When we didn't have a lot of experience. We probably could have come up with some better examples since then, but these are fun to watch. This is how we've screwed up in the past. So we're going to look at a pole, and it says poles must be done with the right side zoom toggle, which we'll talk about later, which is this button here. Okay, this is the button that we've really narrowed it down to be able to zoom very smoothly, and you'll see why. So it's pulling in. And you see how it speeds up? So that's what we're trying to avoid. And it's really a textile thing where you can't just hammer the button. There's no way for us to adjust the speed, and it is based on the pressure that you put on it.
You got
So-
very light pressure on it.
Yeah, so it's kind of lay your finger into the camera and lean it into the button a little bit. Sean's very good at it. Ian's wife
really good at it.
is very good at it. So they'd be good people to talk to if you have problems with it. But once you get to use it a few times, it's really not that difficult. But that's what it looks like when we don't do it right. And this is the same thing with pushes. So you see the jumpiness. This one's more obvious. So our operator was just having a hard time trying to find that right spot.
I think he was using the top one.
Sean's smiling. Was that you?
From left side, no?
That's from the left side.
We're mostly king on 3.
Okay, so this is a multi-subject shot, so we're panning across the screen. Just another example, fun example of how we did something incorrectly. So you'll see some notes I've got down here. There's too much headroom over Jacqueline, but Rick's head is cut off. So
It's probably better.
always be cognizant of everyone that's gonna, not in your shot if you're moving, of everyone that's gonna be in your shot, right? So we're panning across the screen, no zooming at all, and we cut the top of Rick's head off, okay? So we either should have zoomed out a little more, showed everyone, or come in a little closer and only showed Jacqueline.
Once ensemble goes away, though, we won't have issues like that.
Yeah.
Just saying.
I don't know that's gonna happen.
Oh, it will.
Okay, so moving shots. Don't start moving mid-shot. So this, again, goes as the example of don't change your shot in the middle of it. Okay, it started out as a stationary shot and then started moving. As a director, your camera, the camera that you're going to go to, if it's going to be moving, it needs to be moving before you ever go to it. The pace needs to be set up, the shot needs to be set up. Before you ever transition to that shot, you should, that camera should already be moving. Okay, so changing subjects should be done with a transition. So this, we talked about this a little bit before. This is what it looks like. And it should be done with a transition of two cameras, one wide angle camera with a shot set up like this, and then another camera that's picking that speaker up, zoomed in already. The director makes the change, and I believe this is an example of how you don't do it. So we've got a good transition shot set up, and then the cameraman made the change. Okay. So in that case, we should have had the second camera set up that shot. We've been hearing that song a lot lately, haven't we?
They love it.
Okay, so this is what a transition looks like done properly. So we go to the wide angle shot, we have a speaker coming up, we got another camera that's moving to her,
Clothe yourself with strength.
and then we go to her.
Beautiful.
So that's what we want that to look like. If anything, we might have been able to do that a little faster.
I was awake in the dawn. If you guys didn't know if that EC said that right.
It's a different term. Know your limits, so you can avoid running out of limits, right? Meaning that just become familiar with how far your camera zooms in, how far your camera zooms out, so you know that you set up your moving shot correctly.
Camera guys typically stay on the same camera just so they get, or are they pretty much the same style cameras that are in both spots so that they have a general idea?
Those two are going to be exactly the same.
These two are exactly
The only one that's different is the middle one, and the one we get next after that one goes out. We're not sure what we're going to get yet still. So it just still depends.
Yeah, so these are very expensive, they're not in the budget, nothing's in the budget, really, at this point. The budget's blown, it's already out there, but we need some more equipment to make a better presentation, essentially. We're talking about a PTZ camera that hangs on a wall and is operated remotely, but they're kind of robotic, and we're not sure that we want that feel, but they're a little less expensive. But, you know, or we could do one of these, which is
These are $3,000.
twice the expense of the others. So, but typically you're going to be on the same, at least for now, you're going to be on the same camera every week regardless of your position.
Yeah, just comfortability level.
Yeah. Okay, so future trainings. Nothing's in the making yet, but we may go to an advanced camera techniques training. It may be presented online, and then certainly we will have a director training. We really don't have anyone other than the two of us, like I said before, that is slated for the director position. We are in bad need of another director, maybe even two. but we're a little bit more picky about that position. It just needs to be the right mix of technical aptitude, again, with, you know, handling yourself well under pressure, being able to communicate well with others, and but by all means, if you have any interest at all, put your name down here, put director on there, and at least let's talk about it.
There's another spot that you didn't put up there that is becoming a need, I think, is more of the Wirecast stuff. Because eventually we're starting to build transitions into Wirecast and stuff like that. And it's almost becoming a need for a second spot for that. So the director doesn't have to do any of that stuff at all.
So basically, you know, we have an individual right now that sits back in the booth that operates the Mac, the computer that's back there, and they change the slides for the people in the sanctuary. What Jared is speaking of is another individual then that would do the same for our online viewers, right? So we have these transitions that we build in and these different spots during the production where we may want to show them something different than than our camera feed.
And also, it's having to start Wirecast at a certain time too, so it comes in at the exact same time that pastor starts preaching.
So
What
to
I mean by
clarify,
that
Wirecast is what we use.
is, your Wirecast is the
Broadcast all
software
our
that we
shows.
use to broadcast to Facebook and YouTube, and we can even do more than that. What I mean by that, we have like an intro video going into Facebook right now, so we have to play it at a certain time so that it gets done by the same time that offering gets done and pastor goes up and starts preaching.
So it's all linked together.
Yeah, so it's all linked together.
Yeah. Yeah, and sometimes we might forget, you know, we're back there doing 100 other things, and oh yeah, we forgot to, or this thing's played twice now, and yeah, that happened recently.
It'd be nice to not have a Wirecast. Whoever's doing the directing shouldn't have to worry about Wirecast, is what I would like to see eventually.
Scheduling. So we would ask that everyone be available to serve once a month. We're not really sure, you know, when we get out of here and after all the training's done, how many people we're going to have on rotation. But typically the way we've been doing it now is that the Sunday that you serve both services. I'm not sure how we feel about changing that.
That was a requirement from Jacqueline.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay, then we're not going to change that. So,
And
on
her reasoning behind that is because it's the same thing for her worship, and I kind of get it too.
Yeah.
You do get better the more times you do it. So obviously you're going to do better. You typically the second time you do it versus the first time.
So that's how we have been operating. And then if you're familiar with the CCB site, that is where we do our scheduling. That is where you accept the service opportunities and also find replacements. Like it says here, if you cannot serve on your date, you must find your replacement. Now that doesn't mean you have to go walk around church, maybe it does, and find another camera operator that can fill in for you. But the CCB system actually has a nice little workflow built in to find replacements. And it shows you who's available and who's not. Maybe text to that person and say, hey, you know, I see you're available, would you mind filling in for me on camera?
Just to add to this too, if you guys are serving in something else in CCB, it will not let us request you to work that Sunday. It won't. So that is the good thing about it. So obviously, if you're working and volunteering somewhere else, you're not gonna be able to volunteer with us. So it's gonna let us know you're not available that Sunday.
Right. Okay, so communication and teamwork. This is really the hardest part for some of us. You know, I'm not really consider myself a great communicator. I'm kind of dialed in when I'm in, and you know, not. It might come across wrong, but each position is absolutely critical to pull all of it off. You know, this past Sunday we were left without a camera operator, and it changed everything. You know, we had to make adjustments on the fly. Our production wasn't nearly as good as it typically is. And every position, you know, every position is just as important as the first.
The only thing that kind of helped out, I mean, not to say what you're saying wrong, but our middle projector went out this past Sunday too. So we weren't live on the screen. So they kind of helped us out on the worship side.
Yeah, that would have been a really bad worship
Yeah,
session.
but had we had to do that with worship, it would have sucked. Especially first service, because you weren't here first service.
Yeah.
So I couldn't even went over there and ran first service.
So in this position, we have to work closely with others outside of our team, and sometimes that can be challenging. We share booth space with people that aren't on our team, right? And it's a tight space, and sometimes somebody's grumpy. Maybe it's us, maybe it's them, but we always have to be respectful, courteous, considerate, you know. And I'm sure you all will be all the time, but sometimes it's not easy, right? And especially when things aren't going right and they're in your way, and you know, it just makes for a stressful morning. But we have to go outside of our way to be courteous to everyone. And then again, with excellence, we are doing this to bring honor to God, and we bring Him our best every time we show up to do this. And we arrive on time. We arrive with a servant's heart, and we honor Him with a good attitude, with a servant's heart, with our reliability. We show up when we're scheduled to show up, and you know, again, going back to the impact that this ministry has made. I personally never seen a ministry have such a direct impact on the church. You know, charity was already, just the church in general, on a trajectory that you could see God's hand in everything that's going on here. And for Him to open up this opportunity to us, I think that this will give us explosive growth to the point where it could be painful for the rest of the church, because we start running out of seats. You know, maybe we have a small group up here on Sundays because we don't have room in the sanctuary, or maybe we broadcast to the gym or another location for a while until we figure it out. But that's the type of growth that we're seeing, that trajectory now as we look at our attendance numbers, and if it continues, we're going to go through some growing pains. So it's exciting. It's exciting to see, and it's great to be a part of it. So we honor God with our desire to learn and work as a team, not coming in thinking that we know everything, and that again we have our excellence in everything that we do, and we want to build a team that we're proud to be a part of, right? Our desire in the short term, I'm hoping, is to have charity media team shirts, you know, to try to build some sort of a unity, to let people know, you know, who we are, and we are a new presence in the building, and it's fun, and I know that the rest of the congregation is really excited and has embraced it. And they've been very patient with us as we've worked through some problems, but it's really exciting, and it's good to be a part of it. Okay, so first, before we go to Jared's going to demonstrate a couple things with the cameras, but does anybody have any questions?
I'm not going to go over every aspect of the camera. I will go over the stuff that you guys are going to mainly use. You see how it's moving really easy right now with the handle? So this right here is your tension spot for that. Now if you look at it, it's really, really hard. I will recommend, when you guys are during worship, always have your hand on the handle at all times, because it's going to be constant moving all the time. So you have your tension spot here, and this one moves it left to right, and then you have your tension spot up here. It's this one right here, and it just moves it, makes it easy to go up and down. So typically what I would do during worship is to let that one loose, so that so loose that if you let it go, it drops by itself sometimes. And then let this one down, so that way you have easy movement, and it doesn't look so rough on camera if you have to do a pan or a tilt or anything like that. So those are the biggest ones for your tensions. Now once he's preaching and the pastor's up there, he doesn't move around a lot, so you don't have to keep it loose and keep your hand on it the whole time. But if you are live, I would like you to have your hand on it, just because if he moves, you can move it too. So I'll go ahead and turn this on. You got the battery? Yeah. When he was talking about the 5% headroom earlier, if you look on your screen here, you'll have a white bar up here. This is basically your 5% around the edges on everything. So you don't want to have their head go above that white line at all. And then you have your zoom up here, but what he was talking about is your zoom right here. Now this gives you more free to do it slow. Like if you look, I'm doing it really, really slow right now. And then you can go faster. So those are your two zooms. I wouldn't really use this one unless you really, for some reason you can't get to that one or something, I don't know. Or if that one quit working, I guess. This is your, you guys won't need to know this when you guys are running the camera, but you have record buttons. You have one here, you have one here, and there's actually another record button right behind your zoom, but you don't really need to know that unless you're zooming or you're recording off on a Sunday morning. Now, the other things you will need to know are your shutter speed and your gain. It says gain, but don't ever touch this button, because those are preset gains, and we don't use preset gains out there because the lights change. So you have this menu right here, this little scroll button. I know it's really hard to see back there, but if you look up here, it says icons right now. If you scroll it down, it says gain. You press in, and then over here it's highlighted, and it gives you a dB ratio. So decibels, dB stands for decibel. It's just your gain level, your power of your gain. So typically, during worship, I usually keep it at 0 dB, 0 decibels, and then your shutter speed always at 60. If you're recording in 29.9 frames per second, which is 30 frames, you want your shutter speed always to be double of what you're recording at. So if you're recording at 30 frames per second, you want your shutter speed to be 60. And that's for the fluidity of the motion of the person moving or something like that. That way they don't look so jagged sometimes. So basically, that's all you really know. On the shutter button, you have a shutter button up here. It'll say shutter. You select it. Actually, hit shutter. It'll be highlighted. You can raise it, all the way up to 1,000, 2,000, 15,000. It just depends on what kind of lighting environment that you're in. If you're outside, you want a higher shutter speed because you're letting so much light in come to the camera. Now, I'm not expecting you guys to know all this the first Sunday you ever run a camera. So if you guys do need help, and I'm available, I'll come help you to show you how to do it. But you're pretty much just going to adjust your gain and your shutter speed. Usually the shutter speed will automatically be on 60 on Sunday mornings. So the only thing I'm ever going to have you adjust is probably your gain. And that's typically when we do like a soloist, like especially like Corey, when he's back there playing. Yeah, you'll want to change, you raise your gain up when you're on him. But when you get off of him to go back to like the regular worship, you want to turn your gain back down. Otherwise everybody will look really washed out and they'll be white. Whiter than what they already are. So basically, that's basically it. You do have, these are your zoom and your focus rings up here. We typically, I don't like letting you guys use these things because it's never really smooth. It's always real jerky.
Talking about the zoom ring.
Yeah, the zoom ring.
Right.
Yeah, the zoom ring. You can use your focus ring if you want to, but there's an easy button. It's called push auto. You just press it and it automatically focuses. So especially if you're doing a pull or push, whatever, and you go into that in position, they transition, you're going to want to do a push auto as soon as you get done. That way you're focused and ready to go for your next shot. Especially like during worship, because especially on a fast worship song, you're gonna transition between cameras a lot quicker. Yeah. There's a lot more to these things. You have iris, you have white balance, you have ND filters, but for Sunday mornings, what you guys need to know, you guys don't need to know anything else really.